For our podcast disclaimer, please visit the episode description. Thanks for coming back to What the Heck is Happening in HR. Today, I'm going to give you the second segment that I want to chat about with layoffs. It's a tough subject. It's actually very tough for managers and supervisors to lay someone off, and it's really hard for HR people to know all that time you spent and how excited you were for them to work with you, and now they're gone as well. And sometimes it's the HR person who suddenly isn't there anymore. And it's really hard to be on the other side of that table, but layoffs are a reality. They happen. And I gave you some tips as to how to get yourself prepared, especially by not giving power to that layoff. Turn your face forward, know that there's a great adventure out there. Somebody needs you, and it's about finding them. So I'd like to give you some, I guess, tips, but I'd like to give you an example of setting a routine around being laid off. And this was given to me originally saying, hey, you got to get with a routine. You cannot just figure out the day as the day goes. And it was someone who gave me that who I never expected to give me much good advice. And he did. So let me just share with you a suggested routine. It worked for me. Doesn't mean it's going to work for you, but maybe you can take segments of it and take it from there. Because we have this time of unplanned time available to us. And yet in the past, we had to stop and pick up fast food. We had to run in the grocery store at 8:30 at night in order to grab milk because we had none. We whatever it was, those things that we always had to rush through, perhaps we don't need to do that. And though we've conditioned ourselves to act that way, we don't have to do that anymore. So let's think about our routine. So, one of the things I did was I stayed off the highway between 9 and 3, is when I got on the highway. So, that was my gift, whether commuters knew it or not, I stayed out of the way. But I would make sure at 9 o'clock, and now I've got a little piece of equipment set up in my own house, but at that time, I belonged to a gym. And actually, when I was not working, I was in such great shape, because I went to the gym on a schedule. I went 3 times a week, and I focused on different parts of my body, and I did aerobics, and I was there for an hour. So I would get to the gym between 9:15 or so because rush hour was over. I'd work out, and then I'd shower, and then I'd be ready for the day. I'd get dressed in some sort of professional outfit, though not a suit, but I certainly wasn't in sweats. And then I co-worked somewhere. And it might be a coffee shop, it might be somebody's office. I even went to a hotel lobby one time. And the purpose of that was to get me around other people. So I wasn't just in my own head, in my own house, in my own space, but rather to be out. And then I either brought my lunch or occasionally I would actually buy lunch and just kind of treat myself that I had stayed on my schedule and I was going to have a really good salad or whatever that might be, or even a good smoothie, and be able to just have that. And then I made sure I was back at the house between 1 and 3. Now, on Mondays, I usually ran appointments. So I might do an appointment by getting my laundry. At that time, I had a lot of dry cleaning between suits and that. But I would go to the dry cleaner. I might get the car changed. I might wash the car. I might or change the oil changed in the car. I would have those sorts of things that I never seemed to have time for before. I would lay out a budget that I needed to have, that I really hadn't updated for a while, that maybe I needed to plug in what my expenses were. I also replied to people that I hadn't written cards for. So I took some time to do some thank yous or things like that. But here's something I don't want you to do. I don't want you to have a bunch of lunches or a bunch of happy hours with the people you used to work with. And here's why. Because they're going to report on you back at where they work currently. Oh, I saw her. She's okay. She seems upset. No, she seems mad. I think she said this. She's not sure. I don't know what she's doing. I don't know where she's gonna find work. Maybe she'll move. I don't know. Stop. Just don't feed it. They're trying to be helpful. They're trying to keep and show you support, but it's different when you've left. So you can say, "Thanks, but I'm really busy. I'm really focused on where I'm going next, but I really appreciate you. Let's stay connected on LinkedIn. Perhaps you can write me a recommendation on LinkedIn of the great co-working relationship we had." Use and I don't mean that as an abuse standpoint, but use that relationship with them. So, some of the other things, I would just lay out my Tuesday very much the same way. I kept my Thursdays and Fridays, at least until noon, usually open for interviews. I also did research on the organizations that I wanted to work with. I kept up on the news. You can go to the business journals and get something called daily alerts. Ian Anderson does a great job here in the Tampa Bay area with the business journal, but they're all over the nation. And so, if I'm going to go work in Buffalo, I'm going to sign up for a daily alert on the Buffalo Business Journal. And that's going to show me what's happening with some of the business news. I'm going to get an alert in the morning, an alert at night, and maybe those are some of the businesses that I wish to work for. I'm going to keep it tuned in into the business news as to what's happening. I'm going to make sure I'm connecting on social media, on LinkedIn in particular. I'm reading about openings that are there, and I'm refining where it is I want to work so that I can reach out to my network and say, "Hey, I'm looking to work for a small manufacturing firm. I know I can make a difference for them by providing a good lean manufacturing background. I understand that even as an HR professional that I'm able to be able to find them the resources they need for their CNC machinists, and I can give them stories as to how to do that. Who do you know who could benefit from my expertise?" Be very deliberate in your requests that are out there. So set up that routine. Keep up with your files. Look back at your files. If you're going, "Oh, I haven't heard back from anybody," because you're going to be very surgical, very laser like in your request for support and in where you are applying. You don't want to send 200 resumes out. There are jobs out there, but you need to be very distinct and clear where you wish to work. So you're going to establish that routine that works for you. And you'll want to do it for Monday. This is what I did Tuesday, Wednesday morning, and then Thursday and Friday. But you keep time open for interviews so that you can say, "Oh, I've kept Friday at 11 open for an interview. I'm certainly anxious to speak with you." And keep them there. So you're dressed, you're ready, you're in something that gives you confidence, whether it's a Zoom call or whether it's in person. But here's what I did on Wednesday afternoons, and I do it today to a point. Wednesday afternoons, it was a break. I took a book and I went to the beach. And to this day, I have a beach chair in the back of my truck. And I wanted to just sit and read something non businessy. And in fact, it is that Wednesday afternoon that made it so that my last corporate job I had made sense to me. I had actually been in Isla Morada at a compensation seminar with people, and some of the people there had jobs that were open, and I didn't apply for any of them. They didn't sound like, "No, I'm more than that." But then I read, it was either a John Grissom book or a Patterson book. It was one of those novels, and as I read it, it was about pharmaceuticals. And I thought, well, hold on. I like working in regulated industries. I like working with really smart people. Maybe there is an opportunity that she shared with me. And sure enough, the very next morning, Karen called me. My friend Karen said, "Hey, I know this isn't what you're really looking for, but I think we could use you here. I think it would be a really good match. And when you come in with your work ethic and your background, I'm sure it's going to be a great fit. So would you consider it?" And because I gave myself that Wednesday afternoon to really open my eyes, and as Juliet Funt has shared, you need white space to be able to plan and be creative and be innovative and strategic. Then that's what I did. So I suggest to you that you take a little time in there. Don't use it just as self care to go get a manicure, pedicure, or go shopping for a new outfit. Don't just take time to be still. Do something you enjoy, whether it's fishing, but some time to allow new thoughts, new ideas, and to be replenished with all of that's inside of you. Because there is a big adventure waiting for you, an organization that needs you. And sometimes it might just be a volunteer organization where you want that time to just be able to go play with the puppies or help out at some rescue or help out at some shelter. And if that's what it is, then schedule that time and get yourself exposed to it. Some other items to do are perhaps to go volunteer for maybe Tuesday afternoons, you volunteer at your local chamber of commerce. Maybe you answer their phones. Maybe you help them at registration desk. They can always use that support. And meanwhile, you're getting to know everybody when they come in. So think strategically about where you're placing yourself to meet people and how you can make sure that you're shining through when that happens. And we hope you'll come back here to What the Heck is Happening in HR. And if you're ready to share your story on how you found your next adventure, I'd love to hear it. Thanks for listening.